Let's go ahead and talk about one of the big things in the room, and that is team composition. So for this sort of thing, with 5 people on your team, and we don't have a way to draft yet, it's really needed to have a kind of like a diverse team. In 3v3, you only need to worry about 3 things: having a weapon power, having a crystal power, and having a captain. And of course, you need a mix of ranged and melee. But if you don't know what you're going up against, I mean, you can. There's time and a place for all melee stuff like that, but you just don't want to get counterpicked by a rhyme and not even know it. Um, so that being said, with no draft or no knowledge of what the enemy team is picking, it's kind of better to shoot for an all-around team. So with that, you're going to need 2 weapon power and 2 crystal power. Usually you'll see really, cat kill. Okay, so for that, like I said, you're gonna need 2 crystal power, 2 weapon power, and a captain. Now, what shape and form those heroes take? Well, that's pretty diverse. You definitely want some more tankier people on your team, be it the captain and your top laner, to be able to be that front line that lets the squishier heroes actually get their damage in. And then something that's really important is finding a good mix. As you want to have proper stuns and CC. You really don't want to be having a full team of 5 with no real lockdown or no consistent lockdown. Like if you only have Gwen on your team who has a stun, then you're just gonna have a real bad time. Like you can't go in with just absolutely no CC unless you actually have a decent strategy of just gonna rush down one lane. You're gonna just take Saw and you're gonna go in and just keep them alive. I don't know how. There can be many diverse strategies, but let's just talk about in the broad scope of things. So that being said, it's really, I know it's hard right now. A lot of people are wanting to play the same roles. They want to try out new things, and it's really hard to get the role that you want, let alone the hero that you want or the play style that you want. Like if you really want to play um, like Crystal Power Orchestral, and there's already 2 crystal powers, well, sometimes it's just like it sucks. You gotta be willing to be flexible. And if you only know how to play one role or one hero in a specific way, try mixing it up a bit. Play against bots, try play blitz, play other things to kind of get a feel for the different play styles, and then you'll be good. It's really helpful for especially as we look forward towards rank, uh, and that will definitely come into play a lot more. So let's go ahead and pick up a captain here, just mainly because it's going to be something that I want to touch on here, and that is the use of scout cams. Now, scout cams are not limited to just your captain. Everyone has them. Like this isn't the point, but it's definitely the point. Use them. You can't expect your captain or a roamer to place all of your vision for you in this mode. We don't have mines anymore. While there is a flare gun, there isn't a way to really maintain that omnipotent map presence. So for this, we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab one of our scout packs here. If you're a captain, look to upgrade your cams. I keep wanting to call them wards because they are effectively wards. So if I call them if I say warding or anything like that, it's the same thing. I just pretty much every other game I play has warding. So let's talk about you as just any player, be it in bot lane. If you're this pedal and you're just fighting this rhyme for some reason and gonna lose to this rhyme for some reason, you're going to be looking at some key things, and that's how do I keep myself safe from random cattails? Hi, Hazel. And so there's a couple of key spots that I feel like everyone's going to think of where they should look to use their 2 cams. So one is going to be in this little bush here. It keeps you pretty safe. If you drop a camera here, it gives you a little bit of vision from a couple different pathways. Say that their jungler is coming to gank you in bot lane, and they came up through just the river right here. and they just walk around, and boom, you've got decent vision of an impending threat coming from behind you. Another spot that you'll tend to see people is about right here. It's going to give you some decent vision of the river, and you're going to have a decent idea of when mid or junglers are just rotating down. You can see people walk out from their jungle here and kind of just drop down into this bush, and of course you'll also see these bushes used. Now, it's important to like actually use your mind or you use your scout cams on. I'm just gonna kill this runner real quick. I need that in my life. One of the places I've seen people use scout cams just randomly is in these two bushes. These don't really do much for you most of the time. Say the enemy has a Taka or a Flicker and they've been ganking from the lane, meaning that if I come down here and say that this lane is pushed up more about, right here, say like right where that shadow ends, and that would give me a way, like they wouldn't be able to see me walking up into these bushes, and I could just sit here and wait. And then wait to gank, and this Ryan would have no idea. If there's no vision coming up, then I could just be sitting here, wait, and then surprise, jump out once he's pushed up. So, but that's only in key situations, and I haven't really seen people really adopting that. But that's kind of the only time I really see that as a viable option. So one of the things is looking to kind of help you stay safe. This point really kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of lane entropy, and that's like maintaining kind of a decent wave here. So if this petal was all alone, and sorry, cat's doing weird stuff. If this petal was all alone, she's pushed up super far. There's no real way for her to get, for the jungler to be able to get a good gank off if there's someone sitting there protecting their tower. I mean, you could look to wrap around through this top portion here and just, dive the Rhyme under tower, but that's kind of a dangerous option. So if you're wanting to get a kill, you need to look at how you're maintaining your wave balance. And so that's, in this game, since there's no denying, like there is in Dota, very similar to League of Legends here, you have to look at how fast you're last hitting, and if you're using abilities to kind of keep this lane pushed out. Ideally, you'd want to keep your creeps probably right about here. So it's going to be a little bit close. It's not within tower rate. It's not within tower distance, so you're able to still fall back pretty easily in case they start to dive you. You do have the option. You do have potential of getting ganked from here, but the pathway to that is pretty hard. Like if you play a little bit defensively and as like a range carry, you can actually sit pretty comfortably and not get ganked. If someone tells you to if you're talking in comms and someone just tells you to hug the tower, that's about what they mean, is to try to keep the creeps close to your lane. Really let them try to last hit yours before you're looking to kill them. Like get them at that last possible second, keeping them alive for as long as possible, letting them kill your wave. And if you need to burst down a few, so be it. So like it's. I touched on the fact that it's easier for your jungler or your mid to rotate than if the enemy is pushed up and they're out of place. Well, there's times when you want to be pushed up here. Like we want to go push down this tower. So then, say Ghostwing was up. So if we could take this tower, we can easily then swing up to Ghostwing here and go push this advantage. Because if the creeps continue to push up, well, they have to go farm that, especially if there's a captain minion. Because those captain minions will just destroy everything you hold dear. And so if we allow for that to happen, that's perfectly fine. There's a good time and a place for pretty much every position of the wave. And so that it's just a matter about what you're expecting to get out of the different lane. Like if you're just trying to farm, using the creeps to work a little bit more defensively is a lot better in that situation. But if you're looking to push down a tower or really take advantage of, say that there's 3 people top, so their jungler isn't anywhere close and there's no way for you to get punished, then you're safe to push the lane in and get damage on the tower. There's really just like a time and a place, and being aware of what is going to be the most viable for you in a given situation is really the key point here. I touched on this a little bit here, and that really leads me to my next point. Is one of my main things that I can't stress enough is map awareness. Um, as someone that plays a captain role most of the time, I spend a good majority looking at the mini map, and you'd be kind of like wondering, it's like, well, why? It's because if I can keep track of where enemies are at and about what time it is in regards to their current jungle rotation, so and jungle rotation, what objectives are up, and looking to see when they disappear off the map. Because even if you don't have vision up in their jungle, if it's if their red buff's about to come back up off a cooldown and the people from top lane disappear, it's a good chance that they have gone to red buff. And hopefully that your top lane has some defensive vision, be it in this bush here by the crystals, this one here, giving them a little bit of ideas that way. Or if you're really lucky, you have one in this bush right here in the center, giving you vision of both their gold and red buffs. So that's kind of an idea here. But there's been times where I've seen people seen the top laner disappear and then just walk back with red buff, and it's things like that, and knowing that's what's going on. Or if their jungler hasn't been seen on the map for a while, and either Black Claw or Ghostwing, welcome to the map, buddy, have they're up. It's a good chance that they're trying to solo it, and especially if there's the jungler plus anyone else, and it's being aware of that sort of timing. You can get into the person's head. In regards to kind of like map awareness, there's always, of course, you're always gonna want people to let your team know when someone's missing from lane. But if you're able to keep an eye on the mini map from like just in the corner of your eye, and be aware of when the mid laner is rotating, or to see that, like, okay, their jungler was just top lane or something like that, you'll be a lot safer when it comes to pushing, or trying to apply aggression to a given lane. So I just want to kind of show off like a couple of little ward spots that like I love to do in the enemy jungle. And so, like, if you're looking defensively, this bush here is kind of taken a lot of times. Like, you'll see people dropping scout cams here a lot. There's a lot of mind games that goes into scout cams. A lot of that because you can see it if you're invisible. So Taka or Flicker, for example, you're able to see the scout cams. But the fact that the scout cams themselves give true sight is really interesting, because if you find a ward, there's no way to, like, they're gonna immediately know where your ward is as well, or excuse me, your scout cam, and be able to go and destroy the scout cam. And so it's kind of an interesting thing of if you're able to bait out some interesting removal options. So if you're playing Taka here and they've seen you go and ward in the same bush over and over again, you can definitely abuse that knowledge and make them think that you're warding in the same bush again. So if they've seen me, ward here, and they've come and destroyed this time and time again, you can actually, since they can't see what the cooldown is on your scout cam, you could run into this bush, wait a second, and then come over here, run at this bush, and then run back, and they have no idea where you've just warded it all. And they wouldn't be able to tell if you've just, dropped a scout cam here. Worst case scenario, they destroy yours, but then exactly where they're doing this as well, because they could have just wasted both of their scout cams, dropping one here to try to de-ward you there, and dropping another one here, realizing that they're wrong. So it's definitely kind of something that can go along with that. We talked about team composition. We talked about scout cams. We talked about keeping lane balance. We talked about map awareness. And there was one final thing I was trying to think of. Yes, playing the objectives. That's the big one. We already talked about, people looking to solo Ghost Claw or something like that. Not Ghost Claw, Ghostwing or Black Claw. It's definitely something that you'll see a lot, and it's knowing what objectives are the most worth it. Does taking if you have the option to go for a tower or for Ghostwing, which is more important? Well, the answer to these is, in very short, is it differs. It's not always going to be the same thing. It's not always going to be just like always go for the tower or always go for Ghostwing. It really is dependent on what taking that objective will let you do next. Because say you win a team fight, or you think a big team fight is going to happen soon, and you've gotten a pick off or something like that. So it's 4v5. You have a chance to go and just take Ghostwing. That's definitely good if you're looking to fight again in the near future, because it giving you that shield lets you then go fight again, or if you're going to go then push as a team and go try to take a turret, that can be really good. But say Ghostwing is down, I mean, yeah, you're going to want to go and make the most of you being able to take a tower and kill this glaive. And really poorly, apparently. I'm super impressive. So, it's looking to kind of like make the most of that, and it's not just about what's good right now, it's about what's good in the future. So if I had the option here of like, this glaive's down, we can push into this tower or go try to take Ghostwing, it might be more beneficial to take this tower down to make it a little less advantageous for the future attempts to take Ghostwing. Because if, say, their mid laner is doing really well, their jungler has been missing, it's not a safe time just to take, to go and try to jump into this pit and try to take down Ghostwing. It could be better to go kill the turret first, making this not as a safe area. They don't have the tower to fall back on, so then you'd basically be able to open up this lower portion of the map more by taking down a tower. Obligatory glaive kill. But that's definitely something that's like it's really about this long game of wondering what's going to work out best for you and your team overall. So being mindful again. Let's just run through this real quick. You have scout cams, use them. Pick a balanced team in regards to both crystal power and weapon power. Don't just be the team that picks all like crystal power, weapon power, ranged, and melee diversity. You don't want to just all be assassins and with no frontline and no CC, let alone all the same build, because that will just make it so much easier to counter your team. Like if you all pick crystal power, well, lo and behold, don't be surprised when the enemy team just stacks shield and you do less and less damage. It just increases the effectiveness of buying a single item. So, all that being said, I think these are like really good tips for kind of improving on your 5v5 gameplay. And it's something that's going to help keep you alive better. It's going to help you farm better. Oh yes, easily. Playing solo in 5v5, it's super hard to find a good composition. But it's honestly, right now, before we have draft, it's going to be on you to kind of play Phil. And it sucks, but it's needed. It's something it's something I've been doing more and more of, just being fine with playing Phil and just not worrying about it. I know I wanted to talk more about scout cams, but I'm going to wait for my next video, and we're going to cover that in depth and look at a lot of different scout cam spots that will provide you with a lot of vision, as well as be a little bit tricky for the average player to go and hunt down. So it'll give you a lot of information on what the enemy jungler is doing. Is the enemy team taking your crystal buff, etc., etc.